with a video reading on Prince Charles and Meghan Markle. Now, I'm going to start off reading this article about Prince Charles and Meghan. I found this off of foxnews.com. It says, Prince Charles livid at Meghan Markle, Prince Harry for decision to step back from royal duties. Says Prince Charles is reportedly furious at his son Prince Harry after he and Meghan Markle announced their surprising plans to step back from their royal duties. Harry, 35, and Meghan, 38, revealed last week that they plan to become financially independent of the crown and split their time between the United Kingdom and North America. In the wake of that announcement and a royal summit Monday attended by Charles, Harry, his brother William, and the Queen, an insider told Us Weekly that Charles is livid with his son and blames the Duchess of Sussex for the decision to break from royal tradition. However, despite the acrimony among the royals, the insider claims that Harry and Meghan aren't regretting their choice for a second. Here go old Prince Charles. He really grew into his ears. His ears used to look much bigger, but I guess because he's aged, now he's grown into those ears. Anyway, they're not having any second thoughts, says the insider, who notes they've already got a 3-year plan in motion. They plan to settle in Canada and keep a vacation home in Los Angeles to continue their charitable endeavors, according to reports. They also hope to give baby Archie a sibling in the coming years as well. However, Charles' reported anger at Harry and Meghan could affect their 3-year plan. Charles, 71, is reportedly indirectly responsible for covering almost 95% of their costs. Charles has been known to receive income from the Duchy of Cornwall, which he then divides amongst himself, his wife, his sons, his daughters-in-law to support themselves and their philanthropic work. According to the Wall Street Journal, the Duchy of Cornwall brought in over £20 million last year. The question now is whether or not Charles is willing to continue that payment and whether or not the Duke and Duchess of Sussex will agree to accept it if he does. All right, so that's basically it. So we're going to start off with Prince Harry's chart first. So here's Prince Harry's chart. We both have the same ascendant. So both Harry and me have 11-degree Capricorn on the ascendant. So when I saw that, I was like, that's interesting. But anyway, that Capricorn rising deals with Harry wanting to be responsible for his own life, wants to be in charge of his own destiny, and where he wants total control. He basically wants to be self-sufficient. So his statement about, wanting to basically be responsible for their own selves and live their own lives, very apropos to this Capricorn rising. Now, his Saturn is in Scorpio. So Saturn, his chart ruler, is in Scorpio in the 9th house. This can point to a lot of influence that his father wields over him. And of course, that can make him resentful. Now, Saturn in Scorpio also points to the fact that he's going to inherit a bunch of money from his father. It also points to the fact that his father supports him financially. So he's dependent upon his father for that, but him being a Capricorn rising, he may resent the fact that he has to be dependent upon his father. Now, he does have a nice sextile between his Saturn and his ascendant, so that points to the financial support that he receives. Now, Harry's Saturn is in the 9th house. That 9th house is about freedom. So even though he has that Saturn in Scorpio, which is represent his father's influence, that could deal with where he's wanting to free himself of his father's influence. Also, he has Aquarius intercepted in the 1st house. That brings the theme of liberation and independence to the forefront. It can also deal with where Harry may have always felt alienated. He might have felt like, he was the odd one out. And he does have that red hair. He's like the redheaded stepchild of the royals. And what's interesting is his Uranus, ruler of Aquarius, is conjoined to Mars. So that points to that red hair that he has, because the first house deals with your physical appearance. So it's like he sticks out like a sore thumb, and he may have felt that way all his life. That Aquarius intercepted in the first house can mean that deep down is, well, not even deep down inside, like basically he could be very rebellious and basically very willful. And then the fact that Uranus is conjoined to Mars makes it even more so the case. Both of these planets are in Sagittarius, reinforcing the theme of freedom. So Prince Harry, he's really like on that bohemian end. He's really the type of guy that really doesn't like to be held down or held back by anyone. So it makes a lot of sense when you look at these factors in his chart already, the fact that he's trying to break free from the royal family's influence. Also, going across, he has Leo intercepted in the seventh house, which shows that he's rather far removed from that whole royal concept, from that whole royal life. He most likely doesn't even feel like he's royal, or he doesn't want to assume that type of identity. However, this Leo intercepted in the seventh deals with Meghan. Meghan happens to be a Leo. So her Leo energy falls smack dab into his seventh house. Also, Leo intercepted in the seventh can deal with where he attracts a partner who is rather bossy, domineering, and with the energy that Meghan's working with, I could definitely see that being the case. Now, he has Cancer on the seventh house cusp at the 11th degree. That 11th degree reinforces the themes of Cancer, but not in a good way, because that 11th degree can deal with conflict, internal and external. So, this is dealing with conflict with his family, but also conflict involving home. A lot of times when you see Cancer on the seventh house cusp like this, it does mean that the person is going to relocate somewhere far from their place of birth at some point, which is exactly what he is doing. Also, Cancer on the seventh can point to the racial background of Meghan, of his wife, and how that could be a source of conflict involving his family. His moon, ruler of the seventh, is in the fourth house in Taurus, which can deal with Meghan basically getting married for financial gain, for financial security above all else. But it can also show that, she could be very much about helping him live more of a normal life. Interesting thing about his Taurus moon in the fourth house, that's also representing his mother, Princess Diana. And I watched a documentary about Princess Diana and Prince Charles. And in the documentary, it was stated that she tried to normalize her sons as much as possible, even to the point where she would break certain royal customs. Like, for instance, it was not appropriate to speak to the help, to speak to the cooks or the butler or the maid or anything like that. But what Princess Di would do is she would take the boys downstairs into the kitchen, and she would have them thank the staff for cooking them a meal and bringing them tea and all that type of stuff, which is not what the royals are accustomed to do. So Princess Diana, she would often go against the royal grain, and Prince Harry inherited a lot of her spunk. So he does have Sagittarius South Node in the 10th house. That 10th house is representing his mother, and that Sagittarius South Node can point to the fact that, she did try to have some semblance of freedom, but that cost her. Um, that Sagittarius South Node in the 10th house can also deal with how she got involved with Dodi Fayed, who was from Egypt. And, he was considered to be a foreigner, an outsider. And I do believe that contributed to her death. A lot of people would say murder. I agree, allegedly. So basically, he's coming from a position of being fully free from his past life. So that South Node as Sagittarius can deal with a past life of having total freedom. Reason why I say total freedom is because that South Node's at the 0 degree of Sagittarius. That's pure Sagittarius energy. So he's coming from a past life where he was able to do what he wanted. He probably was like a wanderer, a world traveler. He probably was wealthy in a past life, but he lived life on his own terms. Now, in this life, with that North Node in Gemini, he's supposed to be more so about a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit here, a little bit there. So, and he's supposed to learn how to communicate effectively. I am seeing issues with him communicating with people. So he's still very much trapped in that Sagittarius South Node framework. However, where this Gemini North Node comes in, since it's in the fourth house, that deals with his statement about splitting time between North America and the UK. So that North Node in Gemini in the fourth house can deal with having more than one home base, multiple homes. But this was even true when he lived in the UK, because the royal family, they have several homes that they can go to. Like, for instance, when Princess Di passed away, they basically were holed up in their castle in Scotland. So they didn't come back to Buckingham Palace for a while. And the Queen, she actually was receiving a lot of flack for that. Moving along. So again, Leo intercepted in the seventh. That is pointing to Meghan Markle all day. Is also pointing to the fact, like I said, he's rather far removed from that whole royal lifestyle. Now his Venus is in Libra. It's ruling the ninth house. And that can deal with where he attracts a partner who is of a different race, different nationality, different ethnicity. And that's definitely happened with him marrying Meghan Markle. Also, what's interesting is you can see Princess Diana's death in Prince Harry's chart. So the fact that his moon is opposed to his Scorpio midheaven, but also the fact that the Scorpio midheaven is ruled by Pluto, and Pluto is in quincunx to the Gemini North Node, and that points to his mother dying in a car accident right here. So I just thought that that was interesting. And then Saturn is conjoined to the midheaven in Scorpio, and that could deal with death as well. Also, he has Pisces on the second house cusp. And I always say Pisces in the second can produce financial insulation, meaning like you don't have to ever worry about money all of your life. Everything's basically taken care of for you. You don't have to work for your money. And he has Neptune in Sagittarius in the 12th house placement of Neptune, ruler of the second, is reinforcing that financial insulation. And with Neptune being in Sagittarius, that's wealth. But this is also pointing to the fact that he works on these charitable projects, and that's what he mentioned. He said something like they want to continue their philanthropic work or whatever, and they have these charitable activities that they're involved with. So Prince Harry, he probably will give away a lot of his money to charity when he comes upon that big money once Prince Charles dies or whatever. But I'm not sure how that all works with them getting money and all that stuff. But the bottom line with Prince Harry is very much liberated and very much wants to be independent, wants as much freedom as possible. So you could just imagine how hard it was for him to grow up in that royal family and constantly being watched, constantly being under control. But I would think that even as a child, he was probably rather rebellious. He might have been hell on wheels. And I'm even thinking that he was probably a prankster too with this Sagittarius energy. So I wouldn't be surprised if, he was creating a lot of problems growing up and stuff like that, simply because he wanted to exercise his freedom. All right, now let's go to Meghan's chart. Oh, before I do that, he also has that eighth house sun in Virgo, and that could deal with, just having the sun in the eighth house. A lot of times your life is not your own. You're heavily influenced by people, and where he's expected to follow certain customs. And that's that Virgo dealing with the customs and how to basically operate and act. But his sun is squared by Neptune and also Mars. So that situation right there can deal with where he breaks from custom, and also where, he has this feeling of being trapped by wealth, the trappings of wealth. He might not even want all that money, actually. And it did say that, he wanted to be responsible for his own finances and stuff. That Taurus moon can make him crave a normal life, which can explain why he chose to marry Meghan instead of a woman that was already connected with the royal family. moving along in Megan's shirt. Oh, yeah, what I was going to say too about that Gemini North Node. So the Gemini North Node does bring a need to be able to communicate effectively in this current lifetime. And he still doesn't really have it because his Mercury is squaring Uranus. It's also squaring his South Node in Sagittarius. It's also squaring Chiron. So he's not that great of a communicator. That Mercury square Uranus in particular, you could throw in Mercury square Chiron. That could deal with where he can even switch up on people abruptly in conversations abruptly, just cut people off. He might even just hang up the phone without saying goodbye. So he might really lack manners and etiquette in terms of communicating. And I would think he'd even write that letter. He probably hire somebody. He might have even had Meghan write it because he does have Mercury and Virgo conjoined to Juno and Virgo. So that could deal with a partner that even, helps him communicate better. And she might always be correcting him and stuff. He probably be saying words all wrong, pronunciating them all wrong and stuff like that. And she's like, no, don't say it like this. Say it like this. Now, Megan's chart. So going back to Harry, as you can see, like I said before, he has Leo intercepted in the seventh. And then all of Megan's energy in Leo is fitting into his seventh house. Now, since she has such strong Leo energy in the first house, she's not really the type to be in a submissive position. So I can imagine how hard it was being with that royal family and being under their influence and control. She also has Mars in Cancer, which can make her very much about privacy and very much about self-preservation. It's in the 12th house, and that could deal with her trying to escape, trying to flee. Mars in Cancer can make it hard in terms of family. And Mars is ruling her 10th house that deals with her mother. And my student did tell me that her mother is black. Because again, I don't know much about these people, but I do know that Meghan Markle is biracial. So my student told me it's her mother that's black. So that Mars in Cancer ruling her 10th house could deal with perhaps she was ashamed of having a black mother, like the whole imitation of life type shit. The imitation of life was this movie about this uh biracial woman that tried to pass for white. So Meghan Markle, she might have tried to pass for white, and she might have been trying to hide, keep secret, which is that Mars in the 12th house, her true identity until her friends would come over her house and they'd see a pot of collard greens on the stove and be like, "What's that green stuff in the pot? What's that smell?" But I'm just like, but anyway, yeah, that she could have serious issues with being biracial, and that could be part of the reason why she doesn't really feel accepted by that royal family. And they may not accept her simply because of the race thing, but also I feel even more so it's because she's just not of that upper crust. She's just not part of that elite circle, that aristocratic class where she could just easily blend in. Now what's interesting is her Venus is in Virgo. Harry is a Virgo, so that fits very well. So Venus and Virgo can deal with attracting a partner that has very much Virgo traits, or they could be a Virgo themselves. So that really worked out well with the two of them. Now Venus is ruling her fourth house. She has Libra on the fourth house cusp, and this Libra on the fourth deals with a partner's family. Her moon is in Libra, which is dealing with a partner's family. It's conjoined to Saturn. Saturn's ruling the seventh house of marriage. So this reinforces the theme of her marrying for status, marrying for an upgrade, for material gain. But this can also deal with where she feels she doesn't feel accepted by his family. And they probably gave her the cold shoulder with this moon conjoined to Saturn. The Jupiter influence can deal with the richness, the fact that they're a wealthy family. So this shows that she married into a wealthy family, but because Moon is conjoined to Saturn, she didn't feel accepted. She didn't receive a warm reception from them. And more than likely, she wasn't too accepting of them either. So she probably looked at it like, this comes with the territory. I just got to deal with these people, even though I don't want to. But then it got to a point where it got to be too much. Mars is squaring this Libra stellium. So this is like her going against her partner's family. going against Prince Harry's family and wanting to get the fuck out of Dodge as a result of her being treated a certain way, or maybe some stuff that she saw or heard, or maybe, just the vibe was constantly off. Maybe there was just constant tension going on. Now, Venus and Virgo ruling the fourth, this could deal with her partner's family humbling her. And she, they might have even treated her like the help. And, if, her being a Leo, that's not going to fly. So it makes a lot of sense why they are moving to Canada. And I see this being more so her decision than his. And if you look at their synastry, Meghan's Uranus is conjoined to Harry's South Node. So this is a South Node relationship, which means that, it's heavily fated. They might have knew each other in a past life, but it also points to the fact that Meghan is Harry's liberator. Meghan is triggering his Sagittarius South Node, his need for total freedom. So, it actually worked out well, him getting with her, because he needed to be set free anyway. So she's his liberator. However, there are some aspects in this synastry that can lead to a divorce, especially Uranus, his Uranus squaring her Venus. That could deal with disloyalty. It can also produce situations where there's infidelity. Also, his Neptune is squaring her moon, and that could deal with where she feels abandoned or neglected by him at times. More than likely, with that Sagittarius energy he has a need to go off on his own and, do his own thing from time to time. And she might be left, just looking at the wall like, where the hell is he? And also, his Saturn is squaring her sun. That right there can deal with where, he's going to exercise his control, but not in a blatant way, in a way where it could be through infidelity. It could be where, he's not giving her the attention that she requires. And with her son being in Leo, she needs a lot of attention. But this is also pointing to the tension between Harry's father, Prince Charles, and Meghan. Basically, this Saturn square sun, Saturn's representing Prince Charles, they can't stand each other. You could look at this as them, really having hatred for each other. And this is kind of a scary aspect because Saturn's in Scorpio. So her life could even be at risk if she takes things too far. And Saturn and Scorpio can represent Prince Charles getting control back or even taking revenge upon Meghan as a result of her basically instigating Harry's need for freedom, total freedom, because he wouldn't have broke away if it wasn't for Meghan. She gave him the gumption to step away, to break free from his family's influence, but he wanted to do that anyway. So that Saturn in Scorpio squaring her sun, and it's very tight, only 50 minutes separating. That right there is one of the main problems. And Meghan better watch it because she could end up just like Princess Diana. Now, going back to Harry's chart, he does have his moon in Taurus, ruling the seventh, opposing that Scorpio midheaven. And that can deal with where his wife ends up in the same predicament as his mother did. So the safety and security of his wife Meghan could be in jeopardy at some point. So again, Meghan better watch it because this doesn't look too good. Another thing, Meghan has Pluto squaring her ascendant. Pluto is in Libra in the fourth house. That could deal with the control and influence that Prince Harry's family wills or tried to will over her. But this can also point to rejection, where they didn't even accept her. But this can be even worse. Her life could be threatened at some point as a result of going against his family. So by getting with this family, marrying into this family, she basically, is skating on thin ice, if you ask me, because the way the royals get down, or you could say anybody that has a lot of money, they can make people disappear and make it seem like it was some tragic accident or whatever, some plane crash or whatever, car crash in a tunnel. and case closed. So she better watch it. She also has Pluto very close to her Juno. So that could deal with marrying a man of prominence and power, but it can also deal with a situation where there's some type of manipulation going on, even foul play. Now, Megan's South Node is in Aquarius in the seventh house. And this can point to where her partner, who is Harry, her husband, you know, has a need to be liberated. So again, with her Uranus being conjoined to his South Node in Sagittarius, she acts as his liberator. But at the same time, this could deal with where in the marriage, he could be very detached and, just emotionally distant from her. Also, this can show that, he has this sense of entitlement being in this marriage, but it can also point to where she finds out the shocking truth about him. Also, this South Node in Aquarius can also deal with where, she might have felt like ostracized, might have felt alienated just throughout her life. And again, because, if she's comparing herself to others, then that South Node in Aquarius would really kick in. But in this lifetime, with her North Node in Leo in the first house, she needs to take pride in herself. She needs to love herself, and she needs to basically be very much about distinguishing herself from the crowd instead of following the crowd. There was something else I wanted to talk about. Oh yeah, she got Neptune ruling the ninth, being in quincunx to Chiron in Taurus. This could deal with where her safety is in jeopardy at some point as a result of either moving, like they're doing, or where she starts speaking the truth. She starts, um, outing certain secrets. So again, she better be careful about what she says, about what she does, all that stuff. She also got some aspects that really has me concerned involving asteroids. For instance, her sun is conjoined to Hebe. That reinforces the theme of children. Her sun is in Leo. That's reinforcing the theme of children alone. But with the sun conjoined to Hebe, that has me scratching my head. Like, what's that about? There could be some tragic incident involving a child, but this could also deal with Prince Harry being involved with children, if you know what I'm saying. I'm just speculating here, but I know how a lot of these royals get down, and especially because a lot of times things have been done to them when they were young, and they could turn around and do it to others. Also, her sun is conjoined to Tisiphone, and Tisiphone is at the 11th degree of Leo. Tisiphone deals with where you're being judged harshly, where you are punished harshly for something that you've done. Now, this can deal with the fact that he ended up marrying her, and now he's going to be, he was already judged harshly as a result of marrying her, because the sun can represent Harry. The sun in Meghan's chart can represent Harry. So this could deal with where he's being judged harshly. But then again, this can also deal with, him being judged or even punished harshly for something involving a child, or something that's just not right with the children theme and Prince Harry. That's all I'm saying. Now, Meghan also has Mercury conjoined to Diana, so at some point somebody could be hunting like coming after her, hunting for her, what have you. That's not a good situation right there. Neptune is opposed to Certs, so she got to be careful about taking things from people that she doesn't know well, because somebody could poison her ass at some point, hand her a drink that's laced with something. Next thing you know, she ends up in the hospital because she can't breathe and all this type of stuff, and next thing you know, she dies. So I really see where Meghan's life could be in jeopardy as a result of breaking free from this whole royal family. And think about it, that's what happened to Princess Diana. It wasn't until she got divorced and got with that Dodi Fayed that she ended up dead. And again, going back to Prince Harry's chart, he has that South Node in Sagittarius in the 10th house. That's dealing with the mom. That's dealing with the mom having, international connections, number one, but also that foreign love affair that she was in with Dodi Fayed, who was Egyptian, He was, not British. He wasn't of the royal family or nothing like that. And she was basically wide out in the open, which is Sagittarius, on his yacht in a bikini, prancing around. And that's not appropriate for the royal family. Members of the royal family do not carry themselves in that way. So it shows you that Prince Harry inherited a lot of his free spirited nature from Princess Diana. And Princess Diana, she didn't realize what she was getting into when she married into that royal family. She didn't realize how controlled her life would be. Again, I don't know how you can't, figure that out, but that could deal with that. So going back to Megan's chart, let me see if I missed. Oh, back to Harry. He got Gemini spanning his fifth house. Chiron and Gemini in the fifth. I'm looking at that as something could have happened to him sexually when he was away at boarding school or whatever. So he could have warped view of sex, I'll say that. Or he could have unusual uh unconventional sexual appetites with that Chiron and Gemini in the fifth house. I'm just saying, I'm kind of like, that's kind of suspect if you ask me. But this can also deal with some problem involving a child of his. They do have one child right now. They might have another child in the future. They might end up having twins with the next set of children, because that Gemini influence. But again, because Chiron's there, there's something up. There's something not right involving children. Now, and remember, I said Meghan is liable to find out the shocking truth about him because of that Aquarius South Node, and that could deal with her Uranus on his South Node, her finding out the shocking truth about him. And there was something else, but I'm not going to make this too long. I pretty much talked about everything. But the fact that she has Aries on the midheaven, that is showing that she's very much about being her own individual, very much about being self-determined and self-actualized, because whatever's on that midheaven shows what you place a high priority on. So being her own person, being independent, all that type of stuff. But Mars is squaring that midheaven. It's also squaring this Libra stellium. So she definitely has issues with just being her own person. And a lot of it could deal with the racial issue and all that stuff, especially in terms of being connected to this family. So that's basically it. Let me know if you have any questions. I know I went kind of fast, but I just wanted to get this out. This is actually my second time recording this. So I'm about to go to bed. So I'm hoping I didn't miss anything that I wanted to discuss, but I pretty much got it. I think you pretty much get the gist of it. So just to recap, Prince Harry is just naturally rebellious. He just naturally wants to be free. He's really never felt connected with that whole royal family. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he was viewed as like kind of like this playboy kind of character who kind of, went against the grain and stuff like that with the royals anyway. But it took Meghan Markle to come into his life to give him the gumption to break free from his family's influence and to move out of the UK to Canada. They're also going to be spending some time in LA too. But again, Meghan better watch it. She better be careful, because if she, I'll just say this, if they get divorced, and there's a high chance they will, and she starts flapping her gums and talking about like spilling tea and all that type of stuff, they could easily take her out of here. So she needs an astrologer, and the astrologer would basically set her straight. But I don't even know if this astrologer would be straight up with her. But if she came to me, I would let her know. I'd be like, look, I would have round the clock. Well, I'm sure they got round the clock security, but when you're dealing with real rich people, that shit don't matter. It don't matter how much security you have. If they want to get you, they're going to get you. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comment section. Please share, like, and subscribe. I said I'm going to start doing that because everybody says this on these YouTube channels. So please like, share, and subscribe. And if you would like a reading, you could go to my website at rabina.com. I'll leave the link in the description section. Peace, many blessings, and I'll be back. I plan on going live for my part 2 for Capricorn season this Friday. So stay tuned. Look out for the notification.